Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Level Up podcast, where we're talking to folks that have taken their production from agent to entrepreneur. And today, excited to have a long-term Century 21 System partner with us, OJ Rodriguez from San Dimas, California. OJ's got a great office out there with just under 200 agents right now, and I'm excited to hear some of the things that he's got to bring in for the audience. And of course, I'm with my partner, Greg Harrelson. Greg, how are you?
I'm doing good, man, and excited to talk to OJ. He's become a good friend of mine over the years, and definitely have done a lot of collaborating together. So I think we're going to have some good conversation today.
Yep. There's going to be some good stuff come out of this. So OJ, welcome to the Level Up podcast.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
For sure. So bring the listeners and stuff up to speed, just kind of on who you are and what you do.
Well, basically, I like the idea of having a single office business model, and that's why we don't have multiple offices. Have had the opportunity to pick up 2 or 3 in the last 3 years, but have kind of steered clear of that. I think we can build the company with just a single office to 10 million, and that's the goal in annual GCI. So we've been working on doing that, and more recently, we've done it through mergers and acquisitions. In the last 8 years, we've done 2 of them. And in the last one that we did, we recently doubled in size, and that was 3.5 years ago.
So when you, just real quick, you doubled in size. So you were at 50 before your previous acquisition?
We were doing about 3.6 million, and then we went to 5.6 million. So almost doubled. Okay. In first year after the merger.
Wow. That's awesome. So
you're referring to gross commissions, right?
Pardon me?
You're referring to gross commissions?
Gross closed commissions, correct.
Yep, GCI.
Got it. So one thing that stands out just from that short introduction is, what did you offer? As obviously you had a lot to offer whoever came on board that you were able to roll into your system. So can you talk a little bit about kind of what were they looking for that you provided?
Basically, we provide a lot of tools, training, and resources, and that's kind of our model. We get it. The agents have a lot of choices. They have a lot of options. So we have to have a better organization. We have to provide more. We have to help them grow their business. We do coach our agents as well. I have 3 coaches on staff that's coaching our agents every week. And then we have a lot of technology platforms. We're running about 10, 12 different technology platforms. I have a full-time IT guy on staff to sit with them and train them and help them implement all of these platforms. So we're spending a lot of money in that area.
How many agents was that? So the agent, your agent count within your operations was what, and then that acquisition, what did it go to from there?
It was, total count was at about 90 originally, and then we literally went to 180 just overnight. But, some of them were part-time. They weren't all full-time agents, but that's what they had on their roster. That's what we had on our roster at the time that we did the acquisition.
Yeah, and they had another office location. They were all housed somewhere else, or maybe some of them worked at home, but there was a physical office somewhere. Did they all roll into your single office, or you didn't keep another office? Is that right?
That's right. My office was 3 miles away, and I bought their building and their company, and then remodeled their building. Within about 2 weeks, I did an interior remodel while they were still here operating. And then I brought all of my agents over.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was an interesting time for sure.
Yeah. The reason I bring this up, Brendan, because so many people, when it comes to whether you're a team wanting to expand your team, or whether you're a company wanting to expand, most of the time people think of recruiting. And I'm sure, OJ, you do a lot of recruiting also within your operations. But, I haven't seen a lot of people pull off mergers and acquisitions to the extent that you have. And the reason I say that is because one of the things that I think that you focus on is profitability. Now, I know you focus on providing a lot of value to your agents, and I know you're committed to making sure that you're helping agents become more profitable themselves and make more and more money under your umbrella. But what I really like is that you're expanding, but you're maintaining very healthy profit margins. Can you where are other people getting it wrong, or where are you getting it right?
You know, from what I've seen over the years, in my experience, is that brokers either A, spread themselves so thin with their own time and their resources that you can't put that investment into one company because you got 5 branches. Now you're trying to spread yourself and all your financial resources amongst those 5 offices. And it makes it very difficult, where when you have one office, you can really, I have 13 people on staff here between managers, coaches, staff, and myself to support the agents. There isn't another office anywhere near here that has that type of support staff. But again, if you don't create value, then how can you give them a reasonable commission split? If you don't have value, the only thing you can sell is a high split. When you have value, you can sell a reasonable split that works for both parties.
Yeah, and we start talking about splits. Boy, does that get isn't that a crazy conversation amongst our industry? Because I think there's a myth out there that higher split means more money to the agent, but that's not necessarily the case. A lot of times, that there's more to it, right? Like somebody might be able to give them a higher split, but they scrape off all the resources, and then the agent has to go and hire out all those resources, themselves. And because they're not doing it at scale, they're paying a higher price than maybe the company's paying. And now all of a sudden, though they may be getting more money from the split, they actually have more money going out, and it's a reverse effect on their profitability. So I like that you bring that up, because it sounds like you're really focusing on adding resources and giving them the staff and giving them the ability to grow their business.
Great point, Greg. And, the other thing that we find that happens is these 95% shops, they don't do anything to help them grow their business. They don't teach, coach, or provide the tools, training, and resources. Therefore, the agents are doing 3, 4, 5 deals, where you can come over here, maybe you're going to make an 85% split, but you're going to do 20 plus. So at the end of the day, where are you taking home more money for yourself and your family under this business model? And as you've trained a lot of agents yourself. There's nothing worse than seeing an agent struggle that you can't help. So I don't want to have that type of operation. I want to have a company where I'm sure that we can help them with all the tools, all the training, all the resources, all the coaching. And if they fail, it's because they decided not to do the work. I wanted to touch a little bit on the mergers and acquisitions thing, because there was something that I learned in the process of doing that. And as you know, there's courses and classes that Century 21 puts us through, and there's other courses you can find. But one of the key elements for me was I went to the older brokers in my marketplace, and I talked to them. Sometimes it was for years in advance about, hey, someday, should you decide to retire or sell it, I'm interested in acquiring your company. And we would do lunch once a year, twice a year. And by keeping myself in the forefront of their minds when they were ready to do it, they picked up the phone and they called me. In one instance. In another instance, I heard someone's business model, and their business model was to have all their offices along the coast, but they had one inland. And I just addressed it with them and said, why don't you sell it to me? It doesn't fit your business model. You told me yourself you want to be along the coast. Why do you have this office way over here? And believe it or not, initially the guy said no. And I kept pounding on him. And after a couple weeks, he finally said, okay, I'll sell it to you. And that's how that worked out.
Yeah.
So persistence.
Yeah. And being creative, right? So it's interesting. And I know we've spent time together at Mike Ferry events as well as Century 21 events. Sure. And so I think both of us believe in lead generation and prospecting. And it sounds like you've done the same thing for the mergers and acquisitions. Maybe you're not making 30 contacts a day, but you're strategically engaging in some outbound lead generation activities to plant seeds, and knowing that if you'll just stay consistent with the follow-up, they'll grow and blossom, and you can capitalize on that.
Greg, this office that I have now was on my radar for 5 years before I actually got it.
Okay.
To give you an idea. So yeah, sometimes it takes time, but at the end of the day, it's worth it.
OJ, can I ask you something? Because something kind of struck me on this second one that you did, and I want to know if it was by design that you moved your people out of your office over to the location and then upfit that new office. Was that by design?
Absolutely. It was by design. My expenses only went up a little bit, but by doubling my GCI, or increasing it by 35, 40%, whatever that number is, the profitability went through the stratosphere.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it definitely by design.
So the other part and maybe this was I don't know that I would have seen this and made the move for this, but I have to imagine when you're bringing all of your people who know and love OJ and are committed to you and know your systems, then you're bringing that stability into a new location that is going to have a little bit of chaos because now who's this new group that's coming in, but you kind of offset that by, we're going to give you a great new spot to come into and really immerse you in the brand. You don't have to drive anywhere different. You can just hang out at the office. It's just going to be looking a little bit different, and we're going to bring a bunch more people in to be friends with. I mean, that I think is huge.
Yeah, and it is tricky because company cultures are different, but we walked in the door with a lot of value. One, two, the thing that kind of was different at the time was this company was kind of struggling, but it had been in business since 1972. It's one of the first franchises that ever existed. So we had been in business as Century 21 Americana, which is now our friend Juan, for 19 years. So I dropped our name and I picked up this name because it had a good reputation in the community and it had been here for 40 years. So by keeping their name, it also helped with the culture of their company, maintaining the culture of their company, but yet bringing in a lot more tools, training, and resources.
That's great.
Yeah, it's almost like it was done in reverse, right? Maybe not from the financial standpoint, but when you think of mergers and acquisitions, usually it's something's coming into an existing operation. And what you did here is you put the ego aside and you really looked at the branding and all these other things. And it just made sense for you to actually roll into their office space. Again, I haven't really heard of people doing that. I'm sure there's many other reasons. The office location may have been good, who knows? But I just find that's pretty neat. It's a new one to me. But I would imagine the retention of the company that you're acquiring was probably a lot higher because there wasn't a lot of, there was new people that they had to see, overnight. Oh, here's these new people. But besides that, they pretty much were in their same parking place. They were walking into the same front door. So the amount of change was minimized. That's pretty neat. For sure. Now you probably won't do that on the next one, right? You can't just keep doing it over and over and over again. So that might have been unique to this particular, scenario. But I just find I'm just acknowledging the creativity, the path that you took to be creative to make all that work.
Thanks. Greg, the other thing that I looked at back 5 years prior is I looked at the average commissions. I was actually previously in a city called Pomona, which is about 10 minutes east of us. And our average commission at the time was about $6,250. So I was studying the market and I noticed if I went, 15, 20 minutes west to Covina, the average commissions were $9,000. And then I looked at this little office in between the two, but slightly north, and it was $12,000. So I said, the ultimate goal needs to be to get to this office location. And I did, but I ended up going to Covina first and from Covina coming here. So, there's different ways to increase your profitability. And I think you need to study your marketplace and look at the opportunities that are right in your backyard that you're not taking advantage of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good point. So where are you going now? Like, I know that, do you still have your real estate school?
We do. We still have the licensing course. We're still running that. That we've had that for over a decade, and it's still makes economic sense to run it.
Sure. So that's another feeder in for recruiting, right? You're just
Absolutely.
And
We license about 45 to 50 new licensees per year.
Per year. And then how many of those do you think would actually end up at your company?
Well, they all do, because we require them to sign a 12-month contract.
Okay.
From when they get their license. And if they don't sign the contract, then they can't attend.
Yeah.
And if they do, once they get their license, it needs to stay here for 12 months.
Yeah. So I know the audience, OJ, right now that's listening to this is probably like, what? I don't know that I would ever want 40 to 50 new agents in a year.
Okay,
right.
well,
So how do you manage that? Because that's a lot of new people. I would like it. And but I can just hear the audience screaming right now, like, what? I don't want all those new agents around. I don't have time to train them. I don't know what to train them on. Can you tell us a little bit about that process and how you get these people up and running?
Absolutely. We train here about 8-9 times a week, starting with role play every morning, 5 days a week. But we also do this, something we call, believe it or not, we kind of piggybacked on Mike, a superstar training program that we do here every 6 months. It's 2 weeks long, 8 hours a day, homework every night. So we're constantly training. But the other thing that we have is I have my 3 managers that are coaching these agents weekly, but I also have 3 mentors that mentor them on their first 3 transactions. So that's what makes it work. We transaction coordinate all the files to keep everyone out of trouble there. So it took us a while, obviously, to figure the system out. But if you don't have the systems in place, then a lot of new agents can be very challenging, for sure.
So 8 hours a day for 2 straight weeks.
Yes, with homework every night.
Who's the agent that's going to that? Is that because it's
the ones out of the school that can make it?
Okay, so that's your newest of the new licensees.
For sure, absolutely. Okay. And even if we recruit an experienced agent, but they're fairly new and they haven't done much, we will recommend they attend it, because it teaches them everything they need to know on how to list properties, how to sort through the MLS, how to complete a purchase contract, escrow instructions, preliminary title. It really is the meat and potatoes of the business. Our training is probably 75% sales-based, except when you go through the 2-week training.
Yep.
It's not. It's more about the administrative side of the business. Sure.
So you're incorporating some of the onboarding topics that would be onboarding would also be included in there, I would imagine.
Absolutely.
Boy, that's good. But you get all that out of the way in the first 2 weeks. So I think for the audience, that's what they needed to know. So what I'm hearing is, okay, if you're going to bring these newer people on, is you have got to have really, really good, thorough, with lots of depth training, and do it like all on the front end. Now, that doesn't mean they're not ongoing, because you've got 9 different classes or training events every single week. Right. But you're just totally immersing them in the information within the first couple of weeks. So giving them a chance to actually make a good run out of this career.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you know, through Century 21, they also have Create 21, which you can put them into. If they're not going to be full-time, then they can do that on their own schedule. But the mentors are also a critical component. You've got to have the mentors in place, because when they get their neighbor or their friend or their family member that wants to buy a house or sell their house immediately, and some of them walk in the door with clients, then they need to have that mentor to go to. And that mentor is going to help them every step of the way initially. So without the mentor, they'd have a difficult time getting a transaction from their family and friends.
How hard is it to find mentors in the office that are willing to do that? So they're making some money off of the transaction, I would have to assume. Is that right?
They make 50% of their normal commission.
Okay. So then whatever the deal is, it's kind of like the agent that the mentor is getting, they're splitting 50-50 with the mentee, I should say.
Correct.
Okay, correct. Good. And so if they do 3 transactions, and do you find that that somebody who's a mentor, they like to take on more and more of agents? So do they build that into their their strategy, their revenue strategy or revenue model for themselves throughout the year?
I think they do. And we specifically pick mentors that you know, are available basically 7 days a week. Generally, they don't have young kids. Their kids are grown. You know, they can get away on Saturdays and Sundays because they'll go with them on their first appointments. They'll go with them on the listing presentation. They do it. The new agent basically watches. So yeah, it's very specific on who we pick. And they also have to be individuals that are Mike Ferry agents, that do know their scripts and dialogues, that do know the listing presentation. So there's a lot of criteria to being a mentor.
Got it. Okay. Good. So where are you going, OJ? What's next?
You know, we're looking at all the different avenues on how to grow the company. And right now we're focusing on relocation and growing relocation within the company. It's something that we haven't focused on. And therefore, it's an untouched market for us. But we've got some good leads on how to build it and some good people we're talking to at this time. So hopefully in the next 90 days, we're going to have a whole new division of relocation up and running.
And it sounds like to me you might be thinking beyond just the Cardis relationship.
Absolutely. Beyond Cardis.
Now, this is not for everyone in the audience to email me, okay, or email OJ on this one thing. But since I got OJ here, I'm going to say, hey, OJ, why don't we connect? I can share my list of relocation companies as you're building your list of relocation companies. Maybe I'm working with some that you're not.
That'd be fantastic.
Trade list, right? And I'll sign up for yours. And I tell you another person, Alex, that we all know with Central 21, he actually did that for me and really helped me. I got some good accounts from that. So
that'd be great. Yeah, love to.
Okay. What else you got, Brendan?
I think the only other thing, because I know with your time in business and how you coach and train and how you're hands-on with the team, I'd like to get an idea, besides how to do a deal and get them connected with a mentor and have the coaching. I know you're adding a lot of value. So this is a lot of our audiences, you know, they're listening from agent to entrepreneur. We know there's a ton of opportunities besides just doing transactions. Can you share maybe a couple of things that you're helping your agents with that you're kind of a mentor for, or you know, kind of get them on the path of, listen, there's more to this business than just, you know, listing and helping buyers buy properties and listing and selling with investments or whatever else may be that you're working with them on?
Absolutely. You know, that's a great question. We're in the real estate business, and I think everyone needs to look at that. So if we're in the real estate business, what are all the different avenues as far as how we can make money? Well, REO comes and goes. That's something you want to hopefully specialize in if you've been in the business for a period of time. But also, you know, buying and selling, you know, notes, non-performing notes. That's another avenue. Something that we do here, and I think a lot of you guys have seen these franchises, those big billboards with the caveman, we buy ugly houses, right? We have one of those. We flip homes. We've done it ever since the mid-90s, and it's a big part of our business. But more importantly is I teach the agents how to do it. I teach them how to evaluate a property, how to rehab a property, how to flip a property. So many of them over the years will initially, they sell them to me and they get the listing back and they make a commission when they sell it to me. But at the end of the day, they learn how I rehab them. They learn what I do, and they end up doing flips on their own over the course of time. So again, that's another great opportunity to, you know, capitalize on the real estate industry as a whole, because we make a lot of money with commissions, but the investment opportunities that come across your desk, that will change your financial statement in a big way.
Yeah.
And that's been big for us. We've invested in those. We've also invested in mobile home parks. And the mobile home parks we started buying over 10 years ago. And I kept some and I flipped some out to my friends. And I wish I would have kept them all, to be honest with you, but I didn't. But again, specializing in these different niches, whether it's commercial, whether it's, you know, residential income, whether it's industrial, whether it's senior housing, REO. I think when you specialize, you have the ability to make a lot more money because you're separating yourself from the normal agent. You know, even if you're specialized in just FSBOs and expireds, if you're great at FSBOs and expireds, you're going to do really well, because most agents dabble with FSBOs and expireds. They don't focus on being, you know, great at that particular prospect.
Yeah, and all those different pillars that we all have access to within this industry, that what a huge value add to the agent. So when you're that's kind of the soft part of the business, the value that you add, that maybe that new person who's thinking about, I'm going to go to the 100% shop and pay $200 per transaction. Imagine the difference in the person who's got proximity to somebody like you and your group and your knowledge, that over 10 or 15 or 20 years, what they can do to build wealth had nothing to do with what their split was, had to do with what they were exposed to, that now they can do over and over and over through the years. And those two people are worlds apart when it comes to wealth building and just being able to understand the business.
I agree. I think that's the big difference is what are they going to teach you? What are you going to learn working for that company? Like a broker like Greg, man, he teaches, he trains, he works with you, he nurtures you, he cultivates you and gets you to, becoming a top agent. The difference in brokers is critical when these guys are making decisions, but some people, they don't understand that. They're just looking at the dollar.
Sure.
And they don't see the big picture, which is unfortunate, for them.
Yeah. And they're looking at the gross dollar. They're not looking at the net dollar.
Right.
I say it's the biggest scam in the real estate industry against real estate agents is the fact that brokerages and whatnot, the industry has not taught the agent how to figure out a net sheet on their business.
Right.
Like they don't know how to figure out a net sheet. So that's why you see so many agents will hop from one company to another company chasing a 5% spread on a split, but they don't know how to figure out, well, now that I'm not going to get these leads, that 5% might mean I get another $5,000 over the next 12 months. But the loss of those leads means I'm actually losing $20,000 over the next year. So they're gaining 5, but they're losing 20 in a 12-month period of time. But they only know that they gained 5. They don't know how to calculate the loss of the 20,000. And so they end up moving and doing something, and they actually make less money.
Right.
I see it all the time. I see it all the time. No matter whose company it is, I see it everywhere. And if I could do one thing before I retire out of this business, if I could actually educate agents on how to really look at the net bottom line, the true net impact, all things considered, on the moves that they make, that would be, to me, a great contribution to the industry.
No, that's a great point. And when you look at that, I mean, Greg, how many agents that have you interviewed that don't have a business plan? That their brokers aren't doing a quarterly review, semi-annual review, looking at their business, seeing if they're on track and how much they're off and what they need to do with the remaining months of the year to hit their goals and objectives. I mean, we do that. You do that. But there's so many brokers out there that they don't spend the time to do that with these agents. They don't even understand seasonality. They don't know what it is, which is unfortunate for many agents out there.
Would you say, and I know that you're a broker owner, okay, but you're what I'm experiencing as I'm talking to you is it's almost like you're a business consultant for the real estate practitioner. The way that you're talking, that that's one of the values that you bring to your agents.
Possibly. It's just I've had some great coaches over the years, and you're probably hearing them come right through me right now. Is really what's happening, and you're one of them. I mean, I consider you to be a mentor of mine as well. I've used a lot of your material. I use your email drip campaigns. I've purchased those from you. So it just starts. You put enough stuff in, it ultimately starts to come out. So. Yeah, I've had some great minds that I've worked with and hired as coaches. I spend right now about $24,000 to $30,000 a year on coaching, and it just is what it is. It's what it takes. But yeah,
I'm there with you. I'm fortunate we get to see each other at a lot of these coaching events. So, Brendan, why don't you go ahead and wrap this up? And any final conversations or any final questions on your list that we didn't ask?
No, I think we hit everything. I guess just to kind of wrap everything up, OJ, if somebody's out there in your area or in the surrounding area just wants to be able to get a little bit more information from you and kind of what you guys do and role play with your some of your agents, how do they get a hold of you?
They can go ahead and email me at oj@c21citrus.com, or they can feel free to call me. My cell number, 626-523-3193 is probably the best way to get a hold of me as well. Normally I'm in meetings most of the day, so you need to leave a voicemail and I will get back to you.
Outstanding. All right. And Greg, how's the audience get a hold of you again?
They just go to Facebook Messenger and hit that little message button, pop me in a little message. I'll respond. And like always, I always say I do respond. I will answer your questions. So be glad to hear from you. And of course, if you need anything from us, just, either pop it onto the Facebook page, ask a question. If you'll notice that we do respond there also.
Yep. And same thing with me in terms of getting a hold of me through Facebook. And also, guys, listen, we love to get your reviews and other topics or suggestions of people that you think would be great for us to have in this forum. So with that being said, thank you again, OJ, and look forward to seeing you soon.
Thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun, guys. Have a good day. Bye now.